I've always been good friends with one of my cousins, Cole, who's the same age I am. The two of us were not quite inseparable, but we always did get along very well together, and we were often found together, both in school and outside of it. When we were 12 and in the 6th grade, I was hanging out with Cole on a Friday afternoon around the later part of May, and we were psyched at the start of the weekend. We'd run up at his house since he didn't live too far from me, and at one point my mom called to say that our grandpa was in the hospital. While the issue with our grandpa wasn't expected to be life-threatening, he was being kept at the hospital overnight for observation, and both my parents and Cole's were planning on staying with him in Grandma at the hospital. I was told I was given the okay to stay at Cole's house for the night, with Cole's 15-year-old brother Hunter being in charge while our parents were out. This went fine by us. I got along enough with Hunter, and he was never the bossy older brother that some of my friends said they had to put up with. We ordered out for pizza and enjoyed goofing off as boys at that age tended to. At about 9 or so, there was a knock at the front door, and Cole went to answer it. I was a bit curious as to who it could be at the time of night, and so I watched from a ways back. At the door were two older guys. They said they were with the city and they were investigating reports about the water pressure supposedly being bad in the neighborhood. They asked Cole if his parents were home, and when Cole said they were unavailable at the moment, the guys started asking a bunch of questions about how the water pressure was in the house and if they could come inside to check. Hunter came over at the point and politely told the guys that the water pressure was fine and perhaps they should move on to check on other homes in the neighborhood. The guys seemed reluctant to leave but turned and walked away after Hunter started closing the door. After the door was shut, we looked at each other and shrugged, but didn't think too much of it after then and went back to goofing off. Eventually, we decided to go to bed. Cole and Hunter shared a bedroom, and we all agreed that I'd sleep in there with them, rather than be hitting the sack on the couch or something like that, so that we could talk while we fell asleep. And Hunter grabbed a sleeping bag out of the camping supplies for me. When we got into the room, they stripped down to their briefs, and I recall I mentioned to me once a while back, they decided sleeping in just their underwear. Then I hadn't originally planned on staying the night. I hadn't brought anything with me from home as far as overnight stuff, but since I was in the mood to sleep in my clothes, I stripped down to my briefs as well, so I'd feel very embarrassed, even though we were all guys and I knew they wouldn't say anything or be judgmental. They climbed into the bed and I quickly crawled into the sleeping bag, and after talking for a while about random stuff, we eventually fell asleep. Early the next morning I got up because I had to pee, and so I quietly got out of the sleeping bag and went and did my business in the bathroom. On the way back to the bathroom, I heard something in my family room, which was the opposite end of the house from the bedroom and particular bathroom I was using. I didn't pay too much attention to it at the time, thinking it must be either Cole or Hunter, until I got back in the bedroom and realized that both of them were still in there. Trying not to panic, I woke them and told them that I saw someone was in the house. They quietly followed me, and at the moment we walked into the family room, we saw the two guys from the night before in there, and it was rather clear they were robbing the place. One of them started moving toward us as he pulled out a wicked-looking knife. The three of us promptly raced to the front door, somehow managed to get unlocked and open, and we fled outside. As luck would have it, a cop was driving by at a particular moment. We quickly flagged him down and told him about the two guys in the house. The cop called for backup, and within a couple minutes several other cops were there, and they proceeded to enter the house. And after searching, they caught the two guys. The cops figured out that the guys must have entered from a window in the laundry room that had a broken latch, and had probably targeted that house because while it wasn't empty, they probably realized there were no adults there and figured if we discovered them, we could be more easily dealt with than adults. To add insult to injury, while we were waiting outside while the cops searched the house, some of the neighbors came out to see what the commotion was about, and this included some kids who went to the same school as Cole and me, including a few boys who were in our 6th grade class with us. It was during that time that the three of us realized we'd never had a chance to get dressed, so just like in the stereotypical nightmare, we had to stand outside in full view of everyone in just our briefs for what seemed like forever before being allowed back inside. We went back to school on Monday. Cole and I had to put up with more than just a bit of sniggery and stares and ribbing for the next few weeks until school ended for the summer. Many moons ago, mid-2000s, I was very young and very stupid, and so was my friend. We were having a sleepover at our place and decided to sneak out to be with some friends at a local 24-hour coffee shop. Neither of us could drive, so it was going to be quite a walk along a road that would take us to a town, but would pretty much be a straight shot. For context, this road is very busy during the day and very large thoroughfare, so it's divided with a canal northbound traffic on one side and southbound on the other. Of course, the canal has plants and bushes here and there to make it look nicer, many of which we would have to walk past. So we get to this road and cross the canal and start walking. We're just moving along, goof off in the middle of the night, like silly teenage girls do, when my friend tells me she thinks she's hearing something and we stop to listen. I asked what you heard because I hadn't heard it. Footsteps was all she told me, and I'm like, yeah, ours. So we get walking again for a few ways when she stops and looks back. I didn't because I still hadn't heard anything. My friend starts hauling ass and grabs my arm, nearly knocking me over as she's pulling me with her down the canal. I kept telling her to let go and to stop, but she keeps screaming at me, no, we need to run. I finally run and start full on running as well. She's let go of me and I'm being dragged over. My friend is crying. I think she's just being dramatic. Finally, we get to the cross street and head right for the coffee shop. We get inside the door and we go straight to the counter. My friend starts hysterically pleading with the man at the counter to lock the door. Looking for us, he obliged. As we walked towards the door, I looked and two men who looked disheveled and dirty were pressing their faces on the glass, staring at my friend and I. My heart dropped. They had been following us and I had been completely oblivious the entire time. Thank God I wasn't alone or I probably wouldn't be here typing this out. After the man locked the door, he began questioning us. How old we were, where did we come from, why we were out alone at night, and then lectured us on how dangerous it was for girls to be out alone. Finally, he made us call the police and my friend's dad to come pick us up, but he wouldn't let us leave. The cops made a report of what happened and told us to never do things like this again, because a lot of girls can have bad things happen to them when they sneak off alone at night. My dad picked us up, but called my parents. We both got in trouble, but I'd rather be in trouble than kidnapped or worse. I would like to preface this by saying I was 17 when this happened. I was incredibly dumb, mentally ill and addicted to drugs. I am 26 now and well aware of how dangerous of a situation I had put myself in. With that being said, let's begin. I was out with my friends on campus drinking and smoking all night. I separated from them at some point and ran out of cigarettes. I was doing uppers all night and really needed them. I went to school right outside Yonkers in the Bronx, so it was not the safest area in the world by any means. But I didn't care, so I walked down to the nearest bodega and to get some cigs. The cashier wouldn't sell me because I was underage and didn't have my ID. There was another man in the bodega, a 65-year-old scruggy looking man who overheard our transaction and began to defend me, and the cashier saying things like, "Come on man, she just wants some cigarettes," etc. The cashier wouldn't sell them to me and wouldn't let the other customer buy them for, so this man, let's call him Carl, told me he had some cigarettes at his house, which was only a minute away. Like I said before, I really wanted a cigarette. So I hopped in his beat up truck and he starts asking me why I'm so late out, and my intelligent self told him I was partying all night and was currently on a bunch of coke. He started telling me about himself. He said he was out picking up old appliances, selling the scrap for money, and asked if I wanted to help him. I thought, why not? This will be a funny and random story, so I said yes. We go around to a few different neighborhoods and houses picking up air conditioners and heaters. I remember that I got a cut from the metal at some point and was bleeding a little bit, but not seriously. So we do that for about an hour and he's like, "Oh right, your cigarettes." It says we're going to stop at his house. We pull up, he opens the door, and I barely walk inside because this is obviously weird. Plus there were about 10 other guys there, mostly younger, like 25 or 30, who were kind of looking at me weird. They were being nice but looked a bit confused and didn't talk too much. Carl said he just had to get something. Bullied there was paced periodically, back and forth moving around stacks of papers and backpacks, and never actually took anything new with him. He didn't even grab the cigarettes. The vibe was off and I wanted to leave, so I didn't bother saying anything. We got into his truck after and he offers to roll up a blunt. I said yes, so he smoked and sat in his car on a random street in the Bronx. He has been giving me small compliments all night and I didn't think anything of it. I knew this guy was kinda creepy, but figured I could use it to my advantage to get what I wanted. But he started talking more deeply about how beautiful I was, and indirectly after tells me he has a daughter my age and I kinda look like her. I am kind of concerned at this point, but didn't really know much on how to end the interaction, as I was sitting in his car on a random street in a potentially unsafe area. Mind you, I was in my freshman year and only 2 months in, so I had no familiarity of the area. After we finished smoking, he offered to take us to the deli for some cigarettes and a breakfast sandwich. How could I refuse? He goes in and gets us 2 bacon, egg, and cheeses and a pack of Marlboro Red 100s for me. He gave me the sandwich and then asked if I wanted to keep hanging out with him, but he also made it clear that if I didn't want to, that was okay, and he would drop me off back at campus. I said I wanted to go home. Takes me back, which was only about 3 minutes away from the deli we went to. I said thank you and the cigarettes and sandwich, but before he got out of the car, Carl tells me he wants to see me on Valentine's Day. I said maybe, and he became adamant that I hang out with him on Valentine's Day, so I eventually just said yes and get out of the car. I got home around 5 AM. The whole interaction only lasted about 2 hours, so there was no lapse for me forgetting the period of time. Thank God my friends were still somewhere on campus to retrieve me. I told them everything and they were so mad that I would do all of that alone, and thought it was weird as hell that I picked up some scrap metal with him. It was lol. A few months later I got a text message. I give him my number. Really, it was stupid. It's a picture of a very young, probably around the age of time, clean and handsome Hispanic man with the man I was with, a 65-year-old scraggly black man. He sent the picture along with hi, do you remember me? I obviously blocked the number, then nothing ever happened again. Was this some random, slightly creepy and lovely man who wanted something similar to a girlfriend experience for the night, or something way scarier? I was thinking maybe he was going to try to take me back to his house and try something sexual, but then I realized there were a bunch of people home, so he couldn't just back out, smoked the blunt and dropped me off. Who knows, but it was definitely creepy, and regardless of his intentions, I think I came out of the situation very lucky.